Okay, can you hear me still? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I don't know. I was on mute. My bad.
No, you're fine. Alright, so we're gonna let this count down, and then once it's done counting down, we'll go live.
Okay.
Like I said, I'll just start. I'll introduce Black Tabletop, do my introduction, and just do a little introduction like this. You talked about the parenting, and then introduce you, let you say where people can find you, and you can go ahead and take it from there.
I can hear you just a little bit.
Can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Okay, I was saying that once it goes live, I'll just introduce myself, say my introduction, do the introduce you, say what we're going to be talking about, and then let you take it from there.
Okay.
Okay. Countdown's a little long. See, more than 5 minutes.
I used to have a long countdown too. I changed it to like a minute.
Yeah, that's next time. Next time I'll do it. I'm like, dang. What's good, y'all? It's your girl Katie, aka Yo Sister from Another Mister. Here, Black Visionville presents Black Tabletop Episode 2, where we talk about mental health through the Black experience. So, for those who don't know, what is mental health? It is our emotional, psychological, and social well being. It determines how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and handle making healthy choices.
Mm.
So, with us tonight is our special guest, Miss K2 Cray. And I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself and where people can find you at.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me. I am honored to be on your platform, and it's such a very important and special platform because us as a community, honey, we gotta do better, okay? And it's like, a
Amen.
lot of people may say, "Oh, bop boop boop boop," but in reality, it's like a lot of it is not our fault, and a lot of it is because at a certain point in time we got to take accountability for ourselves, and which brings me to my first point. My name is K2 Cray. I started content creating like 2 years ago, but it was kind of like off and on because of my mental battle. I come from a background where I was a habitual people pleaser, where I didn't feel happy unless I made someone else happy, and they blamed their unhappiness on me, even if it didn't have anything to do with me. So therefore, I would take things personally. That is something that I have been working on and I still am working on to this day because breaking habits is hard,
It
but
is.
is capable to do. You just got to keep pushing through it. And what I do is I call it conscious comedy. I try to heal people through humor and show people that, hey, anybody can do it. And sometimes we got to laugh through life's lemons. Um,
Absolutely.
to answer the other question you said, where you can find me,
Yes, ma'am.
I am revamping my channels. I am on Twitch, I am on TikTok and YouTube. Now, when you look on that YouTube, you're gonna be like, "Where you at, girl?" But the thing is that I went through a episode where I felt like I wasn't getting the support that I was giving to others. But
Right.
in life, we have to fulfill our purpose, which is universal love. And if
Mhm.
I feel like I want to spread and share my love through comedy, I need to do it for me. And that blessing will be for anyone else. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I like to speak about things that I go through. I like to be real raw and real because I see like on social media, a lot of people love to do that prissy. Everything's perfect.
Right.
Oh, my life is great. I can do
Right.
anything, and it's like that's not the case for at least 50%, 80%. Hey, let's even say 95,
I was going to say the majority of us.
Exactly. And then even the so-called perfect people go through their own battles. They
Mhm.
just react or revive it differently.
Right.
So I just want to show people that healing is amazing, and seeing yourself go through the journey is like, wow, you'll look back at your life and like, dang, I really was like this
Right.
shit. Oh, better.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to do.
Perfect. And your link tree is in the chat. So please go support your girl. Show that love. Show your support to her. Again, thank you so much for being here. So today we're going to be talking about toxic parenting, and just your experience with dealing with that. So I'll go ahead and let you take the floor and just talk about that.
Ooh, okay. So that is a very, very interesting topic because we all had to grow up with somebody, right?
Right.
Even if it was ourselves. Because
Yep.
I know a lot of people who grew up with quote unquote maybe parentals in the household, but they weren't really there, if you get my drift.
Yeah.
So with me, I'm first generation American, so therefore my mother learned English through me,
Mm.
Jerry Springer, and country music.
Oh.
So this is a great concoction there. So
Right.
and then I grew up with a mom who was very I want to say she spoke with a lot of aggression,
Mm.
but that's just how she speaks.
Right.
So literally I always felt like she was angry. It progressed to a lot of the yelling and
Hmm.
a lot of the, I've me looking back now, a lot of her anger came from either confusion or, fear.
Right.
Her not knowing what to do or her not understanding the situation. So
Right.
therefore she got frustrated. And instead of saying, "Ooh, I really don't understand this," or I don't know how to do this or go about this, and like reaching out for help or, trying to find the help within, she just would lash out. Um,
Hmm.
and I took that as a sign that, hey, I don't want to be this way. And
Right.
when I have kids, which I do, I don't want to be that way with them, because yelling doesn't really solve anything.
Right.
It just makes everybody more angry and your throat hurt. So
Right.
therefore i don't I don't really like to turn on that angry side of me. Of course I have anger. I'm dealing with a preteen, and he
Mhm.
be having all his emotional roller coasters, and I
Right.
on that ride with him. But I have to understand he's a little person growing into himself. All he has right now is his feelings, and I have to help him, you know, adjust through them and work through them.
Right.
Um, it's hard when you don't have that blueprint per se, and you're healing yourself as well,
Right.
but it's not impossible. I've learned to set boundaries for myself and them,
Hmm.
and I'm teaching them proper boundaries. If something gets overwhelming for me, hey, I don't feel like I'm too big or too old to say to the children, hey, I need a moment right now because I
Right.
feel that spiciness are happening. So I
Hmm.
don't want to say anything that I don't mean or anything disrespectful to you. So let me just back for a second.
Right.
And yes, we do bump heads, but at the end of the day, I explain what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to say, and it's all about the communication. And
Right.
in life, we all need to communicate better. I noticed that after the panorama, it seemed like people got real cold. And I really thought Corolla would have brought us together, because we should have been able to say, ooh, at a drop of a dime, life can change. And
Hmm.
we really have to band together and form that community again and stop isolating each other. You know what I'm saying? So
That.
yeah, I didn't learn to love myself,
Right.
love, what I want to do, what I want to be. All my ideas were always, oh, that's stupid, or,
Hmm.
you'll never be this, or you'll never do that, or this is never good enough because
Right.
I couldn't do it. And a parent should never compare their life to their child's, because they are a separate person. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? They have a separate purpose.
Yeah.
And I've just been learning how to grow within myself and help others grow through humor.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And so, shout out to Calvin Johnson and Platboy Plays in the building. Thank you all for stopping by. So, I want to touch on something you mentioned as far as salute Rod Neal, toxic parenting goes. What would you categorize as toxic parenting? What would you, when you um, have those moments where you have to step back and say, wait a minute, how would you categorize that? How do you recognize when you're having those traits of toxic parenting, if you have them, and what would you categorize as toxic parenting?
Ooh, that is a great question and statement in itself.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like toxic parenting is when you forget that you were a child yourself.
Mm.
When you forget that you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna have feelings that you don't know how to express, you're going to be confused at certain things, like, why are you telling me no? Why are you telling me to do this? Why do I have to know how to do this? You know what I mean? It's a lot of whys.
Right.
And sometimes as an adult, we forget that life is a lesson and we're still learning as well.
Right.
And it's okay to communicate with the children and each other. You
Right.
have to be able to explain, and within, of course, their age group, because you can't be telling a 9-month-old stop crying. Why you
Right.
crying? Like you gotta say, you gotta figure it out, and figure out how to soothe them. And as they get older and they learn comprehension, you just communicate in a way that I guess they can understand better.
Right.
um, you got to learn how to break things down, and you got to know that repetition is key.
Right.
I know I'd be saying the same thing 5 billion times and more,
Right.
but I feel like I if I let things go on too long, it's like a balance. You have
Right.
to have a balance with of course you're not trying to be your child's friend, but
Right.
in reality, you are that friend that teaches them, that person that teaches them, that person that's close to them. You know what
And
I
I
mean?
agree with that. You're exactly right because there
Mhm.
is times where we hear that a lot. I feel as parents, and shout out to Renee Russell in the building. We hear that a lot as parents. Like, oh, you can't be your child's friend. You can't be your child's friend. But I feel the same way that it's about finding that fine line because there are times where your child is going to want to approach you with things that they may already have told their friends or may feel like because I have this sort of relationship with you, this is something I can tell you because of the
Yes.
type of relationship that we have. So I feel like that is 100% true. It's definitely about finding that balance, finding that fine line of where it's healthy as far as
Mhm.
being your child's friend because you have to be your child's friend. You should be your child's friend, your child's biggest advocate, your child's
Yes,
biggest supporter. They should feel more comfortable coming to you with anything than they do with anybody else. So I agree with that 100%.
exactly. And that's the thing. I didn't have that. When I tried to speak to my mother about certain things, it was always a brush off, or go look it up, or figure it out, or whatever. So I became a person that was scared to speak to others about my feelings or my problems. So I would bottle things in,
Right,
and that became toxic within itself, because you hold things in for too long, and then just like a soda pop, you shake it too many times, and then that pop is going to release. And then
exactly.
more 9 times out of 10, it's at the wrong time. You know what I mean?
Yep,
Yes, you have an emotion at that moment, but it's like too much getting released at one time. And so
exactly.
I had to learn how to balance, my mental and verbal, and when I feel like I get to that limit where it's like, yo, I'm really being compassionate right now with you, my dude, and I'm really trying to communicate, and I'm really doing everything that I'm doing, trying to do my best at, and you're still acting like a weeble wobble. Okay, we need to take a time out. You
Right,
gonna breathe, I'm gonna breathe, and we're going to revisit this, because the reason why I'm explaining this to you, and the reason why this situation is happening, is because it needs to change. You know what I
right,
mean? And so I try to explain certain situations, like, if you let this progress, when you get my age, it's going to be really hard to shake. you
right,
know you think things are difficult now, it's going to be even more difficult when you're trying to execute the world, and you can't even execute yourself.
yeah,
And I constantly tell myself and my children, like, hey, you can't change anybody, but you can change how you react and how you perceive the situation. You know what I mean? And it's like, the one thing that my kids were dealing with is bullies. And I'm
Mhm.
like, baby, that don't stop when you grow up. Okay, I
Right.
got a job, and I got somebody messing with me right now.
It be, I promise you. Yeah,
And I'm like, shoot. And then I try to, bring some humanitarianism in the
mhm,
mix, and explain, like, hey, when someone bullies you, 9 times out of 10, it's because they dealing with something or someone, and they execute and expel their anger onto you. It don't have nothing to do with you. You know
right,
what I mean? And you have to figure out how to go around it. Like, perfect example, I had somebody who was just always angry, angry, angry at me. And I'm like, hey, yo, I said good morning to you.
right,
What you cussing me out for? And
right,
with a little super sleuth investigation, I found out I look like somebody that hurt them. I look like somebody that brings back that memory. So
Mhm.
therefore, they already got a bad connotation about me, and they don't even know me. Now, moving forward, they love the heck out of me. Okay, they love the heck
Yeah.
out of me because they're like, you know what, that was wrong of me to do that.
Right.
Let me rewind and really get to know you. Now, if you end up being like that person, then I'm gonna hate you twice.
Right.
But if you show me that you are a different person and you show me a different side of you, then
Right.
hey, it is what it is. So I teach the stuff that I teach them is stuff that I wish was taught to me. I
Right.
wish that someone taught me how to communicate better. So
Mhm.
that's why I thrive on trying to communicate better with them and also
Exactly.
myself.
Yeah.
And when I say with yourself, it's like you got to know your boundaries. You got to know your limits. Like, ooh, I don't like this situation. Can I fix it or do I need to get out?
Right.
And or I feel this way about this. Can I fix it or do I need to get out?
Yeah.
And we need to create that conversation within ourselves so that we don't put ourselves in a toxic environment, you
Yeah.
know?
And
And
I love how you said that about explaining. And shout out to Keisha in the building. And Nika, Keisha said that she liked the soda example you used, that shake it up and it explodes. So
yeah,
shout out to her for that. But
maybe
yeah,
I know about exploding, honey, because it been some times, honey. I done tried to, you know how you think about Dr. Kane and you be
right,
like, turn the other cheek. Well, baby, I done turned both cheeks, my butt,
right,
my knees, my
right,
elbows, all of that, and I'm tired. I'm tired
right.
of that.
You
You
can
know how much
always
turning I gotta do? But
right,
you can react to a situation with another emotion other than anger.
right,
Some people you cannot speak to them. You
right,
can talk to them and tell them, hey, I don't really like how you're talking to me, or I don't really like this situation. I don't like how you're overworking me or underpaying me, or whatever the case may be. You could talk to people and they're like, I don't care.
right.
But then there you come to a situation. Do I want to stay in this and see if it change after I say something, or do
Mhm.
I need to leave? And
Right,
that's with anything, a relationship, a friendship, an environment.
right.
It's always steps to everything, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like that's important, especially when we approach dealing with having relationships with our kids. I loved how you said, you explained everything to them. And that is something that growing up I did not have. And I too also wanted to be mindful of when it came to my kids, because 90% of the stuff that I did, that I was told that I should not do, that I ended up doing anyway, was because of that open why. Okay, you're telling me no, I can't do this. You're telling me no, I can't go out after curfew. I can't drink, I can't smoke, but why?
Hmm.
So I think that's great that you mentioned that. That's very important that we do explain to our children why it is no, because growing up, I feel from just my experience within the Black community, we hear that all the time. That's the narrative. It's because I said so. It's
Yeah,
because I said so. You don't question me. It's because I said that's it and that's all. And at the same time, while that is relevant in certain situations, at the same time, you have to have that understanding of, if you do not explain to your child why this is the way that it is, they are going to go out and get that information on their own.
exactly. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the wrong information because it's going to be put in a way that sounds like, oh, this is okay,
Right,
or it's okay to do this. I don't know why
right.
this lady or this guy or this person told me I can't do this. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But you have to understand, you us as adults, we are the guides.
Right.
Do you want to? That's like you go to a museum, right? And you
Mhm.
see all these artifacts and you're like, "Ooh, you come to the museum to learn, right?"
Right.
So you're like open, you're ready to learn, you're ready to view and see what this museum has to offer. The museum is life, okay? We are always put in an exhibit, and we are there in that exhibit to learn and to grow from it. How
Right.
would you like it? You go in a museum and the curator is like, "Okay, this is this, right?" And you're like, "Okay, well, what is this? I don't know."
Right.
So
Right.
you go to this exhibit and you're like, well, what the fudge nickel cap did I come here for? What is the reason? I
Right.
ain't learned nothing. I just see a whole bunch of things and see a whole bunch of people, but I don't know what's going on.
Right.
would not recommend. You know what I mean? So it's like you're gonna be confused in life. And I know a lot of people try to shelter your kids from the world, but honey, the
Now,
world is gonna come and not
it's in
shelter
your
them.
face.
Okay. The, there are some things that I have tried to, kind of like wait to tell, and
Right,
baby, they found out before.
right,
And I'm like, what is this? So
right.
it's like you have to be open. And
Mm.
of course, and I saw somebody say it takes a toll. Baby, I know about tolls, baby. I be paying
Mhm.
them every day.
Yep.
Okay, there's
Shout
some
out to
things that
Calvin
I want
Johnson
to
for that.
scream.
Yeah, it does.
Sometimes I want to scream, and I do scream sometimes. But then what do I do? If I see myself yelling and elevating and getting spicy, then I'm like, you know what? This is not the person that I want to be, and this is not the
Right,
person that I need you to see.
right.
So we're gonna take a break, and we're gonna come back to this.
Yep, and that's
And that
perfect.
shows that hey, it takes a strong person to be able to back and cool off.
Hmm.
Okay,
It really does.
because it's like a lot of people say, "Oh, you're showing them the weak side." How is that weak when you're showing them that being adult and having emotions doesn't mean that you have to lash out at somebody?
Right,
You know what I mean? Those words stay in their minds forever.
exactly.
And I have things that replay in my mind every day because it was told to me. You
Mm.
can never take words back. And
Right,
then I'm not afraid to apologize. Like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry that I raised my voice. But you really took me there. And I shouldn't have let you take me there. I should have just fell back, calmed down, and then talked about it. You know what I mean? And
right,
people talk about some I saw somebody say, I will not show them mercy.
right.
Mercy is love.
Yeah, she was saying it. The internet will not
Oh,
show them
oh
mercy.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. But still, mercy is love.
yeah,
Okay. And when you love somebody and love something, you will be able to take the time that you need to take to show them the respect because they deserve respect too.
right.
Most people like, you gonna respect me, I'm your parent, blah blah
Oh,
blah. But you
oh,
ain't
she
respect
said
me.
no. The world will
You
not
know?
show our kids mercy, and
And
that's
it's like,
true.
it's so easy. I seen like 5-year-olds watching TikTok. I said, I thought you had to be 13 or 16 to get this. But it ain't nothing to click a button like, yup, I'm 18, or yup, I'm this, I'm that. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's like it ain't nothing. And these kids,
Right.
and I be seeing some things. And I'm like, yo, it's kids on this app. You need to relax, you know?
Yeah, and shout out to Nichelle in the building. She says she loved the museum
What's
analogy, and I
up,
do too.
Michelle?
That's
Thank you.
that's a great way to look at it. For
Listen, I
sure.
had to I had to turn life into an analogy in order for me to understand certain things and for
Mhm.
me to break it down to people,
Right,
because you can speak to someone and have a conversation but them not understand. But I
right.
feel like if you can turn something into an analogy that maybe people have experienced or can kind of understand, you can bring that communication gap and you can kind of come to, a compromise on certain things.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a great way to look at it, especially when it comes to parenting with our children, because that's what our children are. They are little human beings that are
Yeah.
growing up and learning every day, and they are observing. And, like how you mentioned certain things that you were told growing up that stuck with you. We have to do our part as parents to make sure the things that stuck with us or impacted us, we learn from those things and use those to navigate parenting our own children in a healthy way that's going to benefit them and not in turn scar them as well. And I,
Yes.
you
If
know,
you didn't like it as a kid, do not do it to them, baby, because what you think is gonna be a nice experience for them.
right,
And I understand, oh, well, that's all I know. That's how I was raised. Okay, but
learn
we
different.
understand that.
No,
If you don't like it, don't do it. Heal from it. And I'm speaking to myself. I
right,
didn't like how my mother spoke to me. I didn't like how she didn't speak to me, if
right.
you understand what I'm saying.
I do.
I didn't like that. And I said, dang, if anybody, I should be able to talk to you. I
Right.
came from your womb. Why I can't talk to you?
I'm a little you.
Exactly. And
Yep.
it's like, and then you know how, you'll say that phrase, well, I didn't ask to be here. I
Right.
didn't ask to be here. So
Mhm.
why are you mad at me trying to learn if I didn't say, hey, me next? Let me come
Right.
down that hole, baby. You know
Your
what I mean?
parents. You know, you don't pick your
Exactly.
parents. You get whoever you are bestowed upon to, God willing. You know, and I
Mhm.
think that that's the perfect example. We definitely have to be mindful of that. And you know, nobody's perfect. Everybody
No,
makes mistakes, and I feel like when it
me
comes
every day.
down to it, there is no perfect parent out here. We are all learning. We all have times where we can look back on certain situations and say, man, I wish I would have handled that differently.
Yeah,
I wish I would have did X, Y, and Z. If I could go back, I would change this. But it's
yeah.
just about, you know, having that understanding and recognizing the difference. Like, okay, so going forward, because I didn't like how I approached that situation, this is how I'm going to move. So, with that being said, when it comes down to, because especially in the Black community, I feel like discipline is something that we have learned generation after generation to
Mm.
be done by the whole, you know, spanking or beating with the belt. I know growing up, you know, excuse my language, but we got our ass tore up. When we did something wrong, it wasn't no explanation. It wasn't no, this was wrong. You go sit in the corner. We got our ass tore up, you know. So,
Mhm.
with that being said, it's like, do you feel like that is another form of toxic parenting, or do you feel like that is a form of discipline that we as members within the Black community have just been taught, that when your child is out of line, you whoop their butt, you know?
Ooh, this is a touchy subject,
Mm,
especially in our community,
I
honey.
agree.
Very, very touchy. Um, I've learned a lot from the whole spanking thing, and I'm about to be real with y'all. And I'm sorry, not sorry if somebody get mad at what I'm about to say. Okay. Whew. I feel like spanking can lead to the child thinking like that's the only way things can get in order.
Mm-hmm.
If I get beat somebody, or openly, show that anger.
Right.
Um, growing up as a Haitian,
Mm,
they did the spanking, the hitting, and all that kind of stuff, but there was something called ajunu.
mm.
If you Haitian, or you from the islands, you might know what ajunu is. Ajunu
Explain it,
is,
because I'm not, and so I don't know, and
oh,
I'd like
I'm definitely gonna explain it, baby.
to explain that.
So that's when you are on your knees
Mm.
and you kneel in either salt or rice.
Ooh.
And that may sound like, oh, that's nothing,
Oh,
babe.
that sounds horrible. That sounds like
That
torture.
thing get in the crevices
Oh,
and in
we.
the creases. And if it's the salt, it burns tremendously. Okay. Also like holding books like dictionaries, depending on the consequence, it might be two thesauruses, two dictionaries. You hold it. If your hands fall, you got to pick it back up and the time
Right.
starts, stuff like that. Now, I'm for maybe you have to find what works
Yeah.
for the kid, because honestly and truly, there's some children you can spank them and they be like, "Ooh, don't like that, never will do it again."
Right.
And you can beat somebody like the Passion of the Christ, and they'll be like, "Ha ha, I'm back at it again with another one." So what you gonna do? You gonna beat them till they black and blue?
Right.
You feel me? And then the kid dies, or whatever the case may be, or is scarred for life, hates you, runs away, or whatever the case may be. And
Mm.
it's like, what lesson did they learn?
Right.
Did the thing change? But you was spanking them. You was teaching
Right.
them discipline. So you really have to see what works for the child, honestly and truly. I've gotten advice from different people, and I've tried to, I do the. I would say it's levels for
Mm.
me. I try to talking, and we'll talk about the situation. Then I'll take away stuff. Okay. And
Mm.
then, there might be a push up position since they're boys. You're
Good.
going to get on this. They hate that.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's like, you still tied. You still feel
Right.
that weakness, but I didn't put my hands on you. You feel
Right.
me? And it's like, I don't want to get it to the point where, we boxing or whatever like that. If we get to that point, it's time for me to take a break. It's
Right.
time for me to shut this down, because now we getting physical. I don't
Right.
want you to start oh, when you upset at somebody, you want to fight, you want to hit, you want to do all
Right.
this stuff. Because we have to understand the way that we handle situations is the way they're gonna handle situations in the future.
Hmm.
And I didn't like the way that things were handled with me. I
Yeah.
used to get in trouble for nothing, like nothing.
Yeah.
Honestly, nothing. But there was also a lot of mental health issues in my
Right.
family because I had I had a family member. I don't want to put, which specific one. I had a family member get upset at me because they said I read too many books. You're
Wow.
weird. Why you don't go outside? Why you
Wow.
don't eat normal? But it was stuff going on in there. You know what I mean? But we have to see what was the issue. Why are they acting like that? Like it's okay to ask them why. Why are you
Right.
going out right now? What's going on through your mind?
Hmm.
Why are you so angry right now? And have them process that anger. You know
Right.
what I mean? Why is little Timmy jumping up and down and breaking stuff? Why are you mad right now? I
Right.
wanna I wanna go get ice cream. Da, 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 da. Now you gotta say, okay, this is why you mad. First of all, you need to calm down. Okay. And this is not how you ask for something, or this is not how you get what you want. You
Right.
know, and now you have to explain, well, Timmy, it's 10 o'clock. You ain't eating ice cream. This is not
Right.
Baskin Robbins. You feel
Right.
me? And now you need to explain, acknowledge, and then acknowledge, explain, and then you move forward with that.
Right.
Now, if Timmy acts up again and it's 9:05, then you need to set parameters like, yo, Timmy, you ain't asking for no ice cream until after dinner unless
Right.
you get this or that. You know what I mean? You gotta set boundaries. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like parenting is like
It's hard.
it's yes, but I was trying to look for another analogy. Okay.
It
It's
is. It really is
basically
being
a
honest.
factory. There's different pieces to every part. Okay. And you have to put those pieces together in order to get the final product,
Right.
which is them understanding and them moving forward to that trauma. Now,
Right.
there's some kids that suffer from autism or ADHD or ODD. And me working in behavioral health, I had to understand some kids have a chemical imbalance.
Right.
And we over here thinking that they bad, evil, the spawn of the devil or whatever. And they really got some stuff going on.
Right.
You don't know what's going on. All this stuff they put in the food and the water and the air,
Right.
it's messing with everybody.
Right.
And then they could be going through something because we have to remember they live their own life too. If
Right.
they go to school out, they're away from you. You don't know what they're going through.
Right.
And to them, it might be the end of the world.
Yeah.
But to you, you know that it could possibly be solved.
Right.
But if they don't feel comfortable telling you, they're gonna hold this aggression. And now they're upset at everything, like, oh, I hate eggs. You know what I mean? And
Right.
the whole time they
Yeah.
mad
Yeah.
at
All types
somebody
of
messing
stuff.
with them.
Yep.
So it's like we have to always be able to communicate so that we can break through those generational curses. Because we have to remember a lot of people don't like talking about what we went through as a people that kind of trained our mind to be something. Do you not, if you know your history, which I am learning because I wasn't
Same.
taught Black history
Same.
in
Which
my
we
time.
all are. I feel that we as Black people all are learning our history
True,
because they
true.
don't teach that.
They don't. They
And I.
don't. Not the true history. They
Right.
always say you were a slave. Da da da. No,
Right.
we came from royalty first of all.
That
Period.
part.
Okay. And then so you just think of that. The mental repercussions that we had to conform to. You came from royalty. You had your own land, own people, community, and they said, your name Mubatu? Nope, it's Sam now.
Right.
Okay, so now I'm Sam. Who is Sam? Who am I? I don't know who
Right.
this is. Oh, you got to shut up. You can't speak. You are nothing. You're three-fourths of a person. And now you're over here, having to adjust like, oh, I'm nobody.
Right.
So my opinion doesn't matter. I can't say
Right.
nothing. I got to be quiet when this person that tells me be quiet. And it's like so many things
It really
that
is.
play a role in who we are today. A
Yeah.
lot of people feel like generational curses only start in your house. No, baby, it started in so long ago because
Right.
these were things that were passed down
Right.
in
Just like I
like
feel
yeah,
like us beating our kids when they do something wrong. That was passed down. That was something that we were taught by,
Yes,
our slave masters. When you got out of line, you got beat. That was a
exactly.
way to control, to conform. And, I feel like it's so important that we as a community can recognize the difference, because we are not taught that, communication is something that is an alternative to whooping your kids. Because from my own experience, when it comes to disciplining my children, whooping them didn't do anything. It just made them scared of me, and it just
Yeah,
made them get better at hiding what they were doing. So
exactly.
that was
Say it
it.
again.
That's the only thing that whooping them did. It made them fear me, and it made them get better at not getting caught.
Exactly.
It didn't fix the problem. So that, again, something that you learn as you go when it comes to parenting, are what are things that will work. But I'm, doing things like, no, you can't go hang out with your friend, or I'm taking your phone. Those things tend to have more effect, because to our children, especially now in this day and age, their phone is their baby. So you take
Okay.
their phone, that's their life. They're like, what do I have to do to get my life source back? What, you
Exactly.
want me to wash the dishes? I'll go and wash them. Just give me my damn phone, So it's just,
Exactly. You
just
know,
things like that.
yes, that's very much true. And I feel like that communication and a lot it's a power battle
Yeah,
because they want to show you like no, 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 and then you want to say no, 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 but we
mhm,
got to meet somewhere in the middle. Like, and I tell like my oldest all the time, like, yo, you want me to do everything for you, but you can't do something for me. Like,
right,
how that go? How
right,
does that go? Even on the highway, it's two ways on the street. Okay, like you can't be that type of person. And I explained to him how that's toxic.
right.
You know what I mean? And it's like when you showcase a behavior that I see is ding ding ding, this is not what you should be, trying to be. I try to be open with him and understanding, like, okay, I understand you mad about this,
Right.
but do you see how you was acting? Do
Mhm.
you see how you was talking to me? Would you want me to talk to you like this? Would you want me to act like this to you?
Yeah,
No. Okay, so why do I deserve that? You know what I mean?
exactly.
And
Yeah,
then they kind of process like, dang, I am kind of tripping. Let me relax for a minute. You know
right.
what I mean? Some kids will start right back up at 3 days later. But like I said, it's repetition. And I'm learning that as well.
Yeah,
Me as a child, I can only make a mistake once.
right.
And if I made it again, that was a done data. So
Mhm.
I was always scared and tiptoeing and not wanting to make mistakes.
Right.
But we have to learn that mistakes is how we grow. You know what I mean?
We're
And
human.
exactly, we are human. Some people hard headed more than others, but we still human.
Right.
And
And I feel
I
like,
never admit to being perfect.
yeah,
Never.
and I feel like that's a mental thing within our community as
Yes.
well, because society teaches us as Black people that we are not human, that
Yep.
we are no more than what we were when we were enslaved, which is just a person, not even a person, no less than cattle. We were brought
Yep.
in to do a job, and that was it. We didn't have feelings, we didn't have emotions, we didn't feel pain,
Exactly.
So to be taught that, and then from our ancestors they were taught that, and then they, generation after generation, that is passed down, so that's innately in us, how we look at life, that we
Yes.
are not human. So then we have our children and we look at them the same way, not necessarily to the point where you're comparing them to your family pet, but to the point where you're disregarding the fact that they have feelings too, they want to be heard too.
Exactly.
They get sad, they get scared, they get mad, they get angry. So
Exactly.
not being able to be mindful of that, then you get that, oh, you speak when spoken to. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
different. This is I said so. You do X, Y, and Z, and you don't ask me why. And then they lose that, and then they grow up in life being whatever, angry, reacting with violence or whatever the case
Yes.
may be. Because we have to understand that just because you're dealing with something as a child, the minute you become an adult, that does not go away. So,
Exactly.
so if
Like a
you,
lot of people feel like, okay, you'll figure it out once you get older. Some
right,
people don't.
Right.
Some people don't. Some people carry their childhood into adulthood and start making the same mistakes times 12. Now
Right.
you gotta understand, we are perceived as adults since the age of 8. What
Right.
happened to that boy? They
Right.
called him a man. He's 8.
Mm-hmm.
The little 13-year-old boy, a grown man, said he was fearing for his life over a 13-year-old at the park.
Right.
So it's sad to say that we have to be able to conduct ourselves and our emotions in a certain way. It seems like everybody can get out of line and, oh, they just had a bad childhood. They're just going through mental situations. But us, we gotta stay in line. You gotta
Yeah.
act right. You gotta
Yeah.
do this. You gotta do that. Figure it out. Like that. Why can't we go through emotions too? Why can't we
Right.
learn and grow and heal too?
Yeah.
You know,
And
it's
I
sad.
feel like that's important. Then that's something that definitely, we as Black parents have to be able to recognize and do our part to break that cycle of,
Yeah,
violence begets violence. Like,
yeah,
you get out of line, you get beat for it. And that's end of story because, that has such an impact on us mentally, and
yes,
growing up to not have the tools that we needed to be better than our parents. We have to be
exactly.
able to provide our children with those tools so that they can be better than us. You
Exactly.
know?
And I want people who have toxic parents that put them down, um talk about their looks, talk about their occupation. You'll never be better, you'll never be anything, you'll be nothing. Baby, you take all of that negativity, you put that in your gas tank and you fuel up that car and you do you. I'm
Right.
telling you. I want you to find the healing that you need to, because if you can't find it from them, there's always people and places, therapy. A lot of people are scared of therapy.
Yeah.
They say, "Oh, therapy is for crazy people." No, therapy is so that
Or
you
palm
don't become
colored
crazy.
people. Or palm colored people. Oh,
Exactly.
that's not for us, but it really
It
is.
really is. And the sad part is, it's really hard to find a good Black therapist. Shout
Mhm.
out to the Black therapists. I'm
That
telling
part.
you, they a dime a dozen, but we
Mhm.
need more of them. Instead of all these basketball players and rappers, we need some more therapists.
Right,
Okay.
and that's something that we have to teach our children as well. That is a part of combating that toxic therapy, that toxic parenting is teaching
Hmm.
our children that there is more to them within the Black community than growing up and being athletes.
Yes.
We need to remind our children that they can be whatever they want to be, because I feel like that is a community wide narrative that you
Yes.
don't make it in our Black communities unless you are, a football player, a basketball player, or if you want to be a, hip hop rap artist. But there's
Yep.
more to us than that. But
Exactly.
society portrays that that's all that we are. If we're not kicking, throwing a ball, or shooting hoops, or rapping about, killing one another, then we have no relevance. They don't show the side of our community that is our doctors, our therapists, our,
Exactly.
teachers. And so we as parents
Yes,
also as
teachers.
well, have to be mindful of that there is more to them, to their greatness, than just what society tries to embed in us. That if you're not a, rapper, or playing basketball, or running down the football field, then you're irrelevant. you
Exactly.
know
And then a lot of people look at fame as easy money. Like, these people, they just doing this and doing that, and they just living a life and they get money for it. Granted, all things that glitter is not gold. There's a lot gold. There's a lot of people who are empty on the inside, or they are trapped in contracts. You can't be you. You can't have any type of, you can't, you gotta limit your persona when
right.
you are a celebrity, you know what I mean? And it's like people look at you like you can't be human, you can't make mistakes, and when
Right.
you make a mistake, they'll bash you for it because,
Right.
oh, you're supposed to be perfect, you're a celebrity, oh.
Mhm.
And it's like people have to understand, there's dual sides to every sword, okay?
Right.
And hard work does pay off. And like you said, not everything that is easy is for you or the best,
Right.
you know. And I've worked in certain industries and I've seen certain things, and it's not what you think it is. It's
Right.
not what you think it is. You don't see all these celebrities coming out with these tell-all books and
Right.
tell-all documentaries like, oh well, you know, I've been a celebrity for this long, or I've been rich for this long, and this person hurt me and that person hurt me, and I had to do therapy and I had to do that. So it's like, if they going through that, you think you just gonna be, oh, not this one, it's
Right.
not gonna happen to you, you know, like
Mhm.
this world, I hate to say it, in some cases it's a dog eat dog world, and
It
it
is.
shouldn't be that way, because we're supposed to be a universe, meaning one. I
Right.
am you, you are me, and we're supposed to treat each other better, but we're not going to treat each other better unless we heal ourselves first,
That part.
you
That
know. And
part. And
that's the
definitely
realest thing.
giving our children the tools that they need, because I feel personally another part of toxic parenting, I wouldn't even call it toxic, but I feel like parenting that we as members in the Black community, just from again my own Black experience growing up, my parent never taught me, I was never prepared for the world. And the narrative
Mm,
9 times out of 10 in the Black community is, once you turn 18, you're getting out my house. I don't care where you go, what you go,
yes.
what you do, you got to go. You're grown, get out. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's like, again, from personal experience, I was never taught how to survive in this dog eat dog world. I wasn't taught finances. I wasn't taught credit. I wasn't taught the importance of education. I wasn't taught. I didn't know shit about credit until I tried to go and get an apartment and they told me my credit was too bad.
Girl, I listen, you know what my mama taught me about credit? If you don't have the money, don't buy it.
Mm.
not knowing not knowing that credit in America is like a really big thing, which I don't really understand, because how is credit a big thing but we in debt to ourselves? But that's a different topic.
That's a different.
Another different
Yes,
topic.
I hear you.
But you know,
I know what you
it's
mean.
just crazy, you know?
Yeah,
And it's like you actually need credit in order for people to see some type of value
right.
in you. Like, you
Yeah,
can have $100,000, but do you have credit? You
right.
got to be able to borrow money and pay it back a little by little for us to trust you. You know, it's like it's crazy.
Yeah, and again, that's things that I was not prepared for becoming
Hmm.
an adult. So that is
And
something
you
that,
not grown at 18. You not
right.
grown.
Thank you. You're really not.
You're
You're
still
not.
a baby.
I'm almost 35 years old, and I still have a lot of growing to do
Okay.
mentally. So it's
Yeah.
just like, putting those things in place to be able to humanize your child and prepare your child for this dog eat dog world. And
Yep.
again, you're not gonna be perfect. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna stumble along the way, but it's
Yep.
about knowing the difference, learning from your mistakes, and also being better than your parents were. And if there
Yep.
were things that you weren't taught by your parents that that are needs to know, you go out and you learn that information. You
Yes.
educate yourself so you can educate your children. Just like with
Yep.
us, we weren't taught about our history. I'm
Yep.
still learning about my history, but I'm
Same.
doing my part to teach our history to our children. So when
Yep.
they grow up, they're not in the same predicament as us, not understanding of why things like beating our children when they do something wrong has been the narrative in our community, taking it back to the basics to understand why that is the way it is, and taking it
Yep.
back to the days of slavery.
Exactly. And that's true. And it's like, when you have a child, it doesn't come with a pamphlet.
Not at all.
You don't know who that child is going to be and what their mindset is going to be at.
Right.
So it's not like, you have a description, okay, at this age and that age they're going to try this and try it. Doesn't come with that. You have
Right.
to learn. Life is a lesson and parenting is a lesson within
Yep.
itself. And especially, like I said earlier, you trying to learn life and
Right.
you trying to heal, and you over here trying to heal others, but
Yep.
you have to do the work for you in order for you to be better for them. you
Facts.
know you
Yep.
have to. And
Yep.
and it's like, a lot of people became parents and they're doing it by themselves. Yes, it's hard, but you can do it.
Yep.
You can do it. You can do it.
And you can do it in a toxic free environment. And they
Yes.
hard, but
Don't be bashing. Don't be bashing other
yep,
person. Kids gonna see.
yep,
Kids gonna see who is doing the work. You
right,
don't have to say nothing.
yep,
You don't have to, I've seen parents, oh, your daddy ain't this and you ain't
right,
that and da bop bop and I can't stand him. You look just like him and why are you putting that energy into the child? The child ain't do nothing to you.
right.
You know, you
I
have
know somebody that would get beat by their grandmother strictly because he looked like his father.
to
That
see.
was her only
I done
reason.
lost the earring. That was a word, honey.
That was the only reason, strictly because he looked just like his father, and she did not like his father. So every chance she got when he got out of line, she would beat him for that.
Okay, something that you could have just explained, and you going ham sandwich on this kid.
Right,
You mad?
right. And I
You know.
feel like another thing in toxic parenting, which something that I am guilty of, but again, you live and you learn, is making sure that even though you get advice from other people when it comes to people who've had children or even people who haven't, and
Mhm.
they're, hey, well, this, I know this person that did X, Y, and Z with their kids, then you try this, making sure that you are able to differentiate. I don't even think I'm saying that right.
But I know what you're going for.
Yeah, for yourself, because I've been guilty of that as well.
Yeah.
For example, with my teenager, my oldest, when she was in her preteen to teen stage and she was getting out of line and the spankings weren't working and the taking her phone wasn't working and all that wasn't working, I had last time, I think it was like the third time I caught her with her phone, I told her, if I catch you doing X, Y, or Z again, I'm gonna cut your hair, because her hair was like her everything,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like, so I was like, trying to hit her where it hurts, thinking that will
Yeah.
make the difference. So I made the threat. Fast forward, she did the shit again anyway. And so I had went to work, was telling a coworker about it, and she's like, well, you made that threat, so you have to follow through on that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, living and learning, I did follow through on that, and that is something that I regret, but that was something that
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn for myself, is you can't base how you move with your children and what you do as far as discipline them goes or raising them goes based off of what somebody else tells you, because
Exactly. You
that
got,
was
like I
more
said, you gotta find out what works for them.
right, and
But
what
at the
works for
center
you
of
as
it
well.
works for you and works for them exactly. And it all starts with a conversation. You got to figure out why they do. Well, why you keep going to the phone? You're like, you can't be without it for one day.
Right,
You know what I mean? Like it's got to be something. And
right,
there's always a reason to every reaction. And that's where we have to get better as adults and break that generational curse and talk speak more. You know what I
right.
mean? Because
So
there's certain conversations that we have to have. We
right,
have to be able to talk to them at the end of the day.
we do.
Like you don't want to be this big bad wolf that oh, you to fear me is to respect me. Like,
Right.
no, there's so many people out here that people are scared of, but they don't really respect them. They don't really respect them. And true
Just to make
respect
sure when
comes
they
from
come around, they
compromise
sit
and
up straight.
communication.
That's it.
Exactly. And I don't want my kids to fear me. I
Right,
want them at the end of the day, when it's time, my time to go to bed, you know what I mean, that eternal bedtime, I want them to be like, dang, my mom, she communicated with me, she loved me tremendously, and that's why she tried her hardest to teach us what we needed to know, and now I want to know more so that I can teach mine.
right. And that's how I look at it as well. I say that all the time, especially with my two oldest children. Like, I want the type of relationship that we have for
Hmm.
you to feel comfortable. Even, for example, if you asked to go out to the movies and you lied to me about where you were going, and you end up at somebody's house and you drinking too much and you're on their floor,
Hmm.
at the brink of death, and you're like, well, I can't call my mom because if I do, she's gonna beat me. So instead, I'm gonna sit here and die from alcohol poisoning on
Right.
that person's bathroom floor. I
Right.
always be mindful of that. Like I want my kids to feel comfortable enough to make that phone call and
And I
say,
also want them to be honest with me too. I know, every child has that whole rebellious stage or whatever.
right,
Some don't, but I want them to be, hey, mom, I really want to go to this party, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I'm gonna have a talk with you, and hey, explain to you what could happen, and
yeah,
I would like to have some phone numbers, keep your phone on you, and stay protected. You know what I mean? Like I
yeah,
want
because
there to
that's
be honesty because I wasn't able to be honest with mine.
exactly, and
When I was honest, it felt like, I was on trial for
right,
murder, you know?
right, and
So
it put me not being able to be honest with my mom put me in situations where I had horrible things happen to me because
exactly.
I could not be
Because
honest.
I didn't know. I
Yeah,
didn't know,
yeah,
and it's like learning with no type of lesson behind it,
mhm,
it's really scary because
yeah,
you don't know what's gonna happen
and it's
and
confusing.
you don't know what's happening in that moment. You know what I mean? You gotta explain that at parties things can get wild. Everybody not you, everybody don't got the parents that you got. You
Right.
know what I mean? And some people, if things can get out of control. I gotta let you know what to do in an emergency situation. We don't want to instill fear in our children, but we have to tell them the truth
Yeah,
because we found out things get wild too,
yeah,
and you have to explain, and
yeah.
and
You
I know a
have to.
lot of people don't feel like that's important, but it is
It
very
really is.
important.
And if you don't, the internet will. So that's what it comes down to, and it's sad to say, but we really live in a society now where technology runs everything. And
And
when
you
your
can't
kid
let
comes
the
to
internet
you
teach your
and they
kids
ask you
something.
something, either you're gonna tell them, you're gonna brush them off, or they're going to go find it out for themselves. And would you rather they learn from the internet what it was that they came to you with, or would you rather they hear from you what it is? Because like I said, the internet it's at their fingertips. They can learn anything in the drop of a dime. So it's really up to you to decide because like I said, the society that we live in now, we are being, I feel like honestly, we're like the first generation of parents that are being forced to parent with the internet.
Yeah,
And that in
yeah,
itself is really hard.
yeah.
You know,
It
it
is.
really is. And so it just comes down to that being able to do that. Do you want the type of relationship that you have with your child where they can come to you and ask you things, or is your child going to go out into this dog eat dog world and have to basically be fed to the wolves and navigate for themselves? Because again, just like we said, just because you turn 18, it doesn't make you an adult. You're not fully prepared for what this world has to throw at you.
Yes, and then a good point about that. Um, I've been, just getting to know different people from different walks of life. It seems like our culture is the kick out culture, right? But other cultures, they'll let you stay. You're gonna work, you're gonna get a job, you're gonna get your money up, you're gonna save. Okay, you're gonna save, and then when you financially stable, boom, you could go ahead and do you. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
And that's
And
important.
yeah. And it's like, of course, you can set the parameters like, hey, you might pay a light bill, your own phone bill, buy your own clothes or whatever, so they can understand money and, budgeting and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But, you, that kick out culture got to go because a lot
It
of these
does.
babies end up on the street with
Yep.
people who are abusive,
Yep.
with people who mess them up even worse. Some
Mhm.
people make it out and they find a way, but they have to work 10 times harder to get where they need to be.
Yep.
When you could be, hey, you stay here, but you might pay a bill or something like that to help and everything.
Yep.
And, just go ahead and save up your money so that you can do you at the
Right.
right time.
Yep, and that's definitely 100% facts. And I feel like within the Black community, that is the narrative. Once you grown, you
Yeah.
getting out my house.
Yeah.
But it's like at the end of the day, we have to have that understanding. Are we, parenting and raising our children just to be able to walk around and say, hey, I have this baby and now they're 18, so I did my job because they grown and are we parenting our children to not only to be able to survive in this world, but to be able to healthily parent our grandchildren, our
Yes.
great grandchildren, because that's what
And
it
even
comes
if they
down
don't have kids, be
to.
able to mentally, conduct
Parent
themselves.
themselves, exactly.
Because kids ain't for everybody, and not
Right,
everybody wants kids. And I
right,
don't condone, I don't condone the bashing of people who don't. I'm not saying you was, not saying you was, but
right.
I'm saying like in general, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I want you to be able to enjoy your life.
right.
And I want you to be able to be happy with yourself and the choices that you make. And
Yeah,
I don't want you to bash yourself for making mistakes, because in life you can make 1,000 mistakes, but if you make the same mistake 1,000 times, that's when you're not willing to learn the lesson.
right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. I agree. And Francesca, she said she agreed. We have to educate our kids because
What's
if
up,
we don't,
Princess?
then the internet, their peers in this world will teach them the hard way. And
Yeah,
that
certainly
is
will.
100% correct. Um, K2 Cray, I appreciate your time. We have come to the end of our show. I appreciate all those who stopped by. This was
Yes, thank you.
very, very great. I thank you so much for being here again. And we're going to get out of here. Before we go, I want to just let my oldest, she has a message for everybody out there. So I'm going to play
Yay.
this and then we are going to head out. Thank you all for stopping by, and this is Naya Bone. So please leave a comment below and also subscribe. Subscribe or get a thumbs up.
And if you get a thumbs down, you're being very bad, okay? Don't give a thumbs down. Always get a thumbs up. For Naya Girl. Okay, guys. Bye.
Bye.